Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we got my longest video yet, more than likely. Well, not counting gameplays because sometimes those are 1 hour, but that doesn't count. We're going to be going over almost every essential mod for your return to Fallout 4, or maybe for the people who are already playing but looking for more safer mods to add to their list so they can stop crashing. These mods will be on Xbox and PC. Well, not all of them, but if there's an Xbox option, I will include the link down in my description. I do apologize to Sony people, PlayStation people, because 9 times out of 10, the mod is not going to be there for you, unfortunately. But before we get into it, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you ended up enjoying. Otherwise, let's dive right in. We're first going to talk about some very useful mods that I literally feel like I have to use. It's just a few, so stick with me. But the first one being Backported Archive 2 support system. This is one of, if not the most important mod of this list, making it so that any mod that is made for the newer version of Fallout 4 works for the older versions of Fallout 4, like the one I'm currently using. Because I'm one of those few stubborn types that refuse to update, and because some mod authors refuse to actually support the newer version, so it's better to stay on the older one if I'm being honest. But thanks to this mod, we can have the best of both worlds, use the older and new mods. So yes, 100% you're going to need this mod. The next one is called Keeper of the Commonwealth Radiance. It's an updated version of Key Radiance in the Commonwealth, and this, if you couldn't tell by the title, makes it so any Radiant quests you have or are given won't force you to go to the DLC lands like Far Harbor, and trigger things early if you were trying to avoid it on purpose. The next mod is called ROBCO Patcher. This mod has almost single-handedly revived Fallout 4 modding and made it 10 times easier, making it easier to patch things automatically for mod authors so you don't see 500 bug reports under a mod. Because I don't know about you, but that scares me away from trying something. This mod, because I lack the full intelligence to fully explain it, it makes it so mod authors can configure a mod automatically in your game with the setup file on launch. So it's configured every single time you launch to be compatible with your list. I mean, provided that all the other mods you have ROBCO support. Some mods are a little complicated, but I'm probably explaining this terribly also. But yes, this is 100% needed. Best way to think of this is like a magical patcher that you don't have to do anything for. Just download the file and launch your game and it does everything else. Okay, so I'll be honest, the next 3 is kind of my own personal 3 essential mods, but the first one is called Cheat Terminal. I have to have this whether I'm playing on Xbox or PC. It makes getting things in a game so much easier if I want to test items like, I do mod showcases. Or just make things easier for myself if I don't feel like dying a bunch of times. It's just a little holotape that comes as soon as you start the game, and in it is basically like a bunch of console commands that you don't have to memorize because it's there for you whenever you need it. Like if you're running low on ammo, you can add ammo, teleporting locations if you don't remember certain locations, which I'm actually starting to get good at, but even getting max special or resetting anything that you set too high. This is pretty much perfect for everything. The next one is called Useful Gas Mask. This mod is a utility that edits all gas masks in the base game, making them stronger, well, a lot stronger than what you see in vanilla, because they are so weak to the point that it's really no reason to use them. Most of the time, people don't even pick them up, they just go for a hazmat suit if they can find it, or power armor. Even a broken hazmat suit is way better. But with this mod, there's finally a reason to actually use them, especially with Gas Mask of the Wasteland having so many bugs pretty much being broken at this point. But I'd really love to see someone pick that mod up. It is one of my favorites. But for now, this will do. And the last one of the use mods I use is Unique Player. This one might seem a little scary at first or maybe useless to some people, but it just allows for you to have your own personal customization for your character, separate from NPCs. So whatever skin mod is here or tattoos that you installed on you will only be for you. And I pretty much love to stand out from normal NPCs, otherwise there's no point even installing mods. But really what the main point of me using this is so I can have 4K skin for screen archery and give 2K skin to NPCs, because otherwise my FPS would tank. The next mod simply for optimization reasons is PRP, or Previsibine Repair Pack. This mod aims to repair the bad optimization in Fallout 4, causing you to have 20,000 draw calls on a vanilla Fallout 4. Not even modded, just straight vanilla. Especially around the Trinity Tower, you can see about 25,000 draw calls and have 40 FPS in vanilla, but with this mod, at most you'll see about 6,000, and that'll help save your CPU and make it last longer. But I do want to say you want to be a little careful with this one because it isn't a magical fix. This mod does have a lot of compatibility issues and will need patches for most landscape changes mods. So like I said, approach this carefully. Now that we're done with the boring but 100% needed stuff, we can get into the real game-changing gameplay things. I would include a lighting change, but I use ELFX and people are divided on that. So I'll let you choose between ELFX and ultra interior lighting. That's for you to decide because those are pretty much the only two options, I think. But you can correct me down in the comments if I'm wrong. So first, we're going to do the environment, and no, I'm not going to be doing mods like another pine forest or water overhauls because you've seen that from me a lot. The first mod for environmental change is called Subway Runner Revival, a mod I just showcased, but here it is again, reviving the Subway Runner mod while still keeping the original mod elements. Adding new entryways to the subway like just outside of Diamond City, or you can even find one right in Concord after saving Preston, but honestly, he kills all the raiders whether you help him or not, so you can just run right past it. But this place has different elements, from settler locations to just wander around and buy things, to just guards protecting an empty subway line. Don't know why they're there, don't see any enemies, but there is places that are filled with ghouls or super mutants. You'll never really know what you're going to get unless you play with this mod for a long time, but it just came out. So I expect you to get lost just like me a few times. And if you want, and I highly recommend it, I advise to use the add-on for it called Subway Runner Revival NPC add-on. This mod just adds more NPCs to the subway so it doesn't feel so empty. This is a simple but effective mod. But moving on, the other mod I highly recommend is Ultimate Window Overhaul Redone. This mod massively changes up glass in the Commonwealth, allowing for reflections if you choose it, because you can pick, and also new bullet effects when you actually hit the glass, probably because you have bad aim. This mod pretty much lets you configure everything during installation, so it's pretty FPS intense with the maximum settings. But the settings I'm using, which is probably about the medium between the high and the low, it's just perfect for me. It's one of those mods that you'll never be going back to vanilla once you have it kind of thing. Up next we got a super simple mod. This one is called Wasteland Illumination. This is a simple lighting mod, well not really a lighting mod, but it provides power to certain street lamps and buildings during night. Because even in vanilla, power isn't really a limited source like they try to make it seem. Pretty much everyone has it, so it doesn't really make sense that some parts of the city don't, and this mod fixes that bit of a lack of immersion, especially with the TV show providing new advancements without me giving spoilers and Fallout. This mod makes so much more sense now. The next one's up is more of add-ons onto the environment, and up first we got People Live In series. Well, mainly the Unmarked Raider camps 1 and 2. These are perfect and don't really have any conflict, especially with me using another pine forest, which generally does cause clipping, but not with these. These two mods overhaul every single Unmarked Raider camp in the Commonwealth, or at least a lot of them, because of course I can't name every one of them, making them more lived in, hence the title. I didn't notice any FPS drops, which is kind of my main point of using this, but I definitely did notice the changes with versus without these two mods. And because of that, these two have definitely become a must-have for every playthrough now for me. And I combine it with the next mod, and the first one is Hunkered Down, Commonwealth Overhaul. This mod overhauls most of the main locations that you know of in Fallout 4, not making them massive or large cities because that wouldn't really make sense, but mainly just making them more fortified. Like for instance, giving home to enemies and barricading open places that never really made sense considering they use turrets for a reason. I use the No Adam Cat's Garage version, which doesn't really make sense. I don't know why I use that version considering I don't have an Atom Cat's overhaul, but it has the most downloads, so I just grabbed it. This mod will conflict with a lot of overhauls like People Live In series, but not the Unmarked Raider camps version, so they work perfect together. But an even more massive overhaul that surprisingly works with this is Atomic World. Now this mod does add new buildings and even cities to the Commonwealth that you will wander into randomly. But I will say this does conflict with another pine forest unfortunately, but only a little, not really anything massively game breaking, just trees clipping into buildings. But this mod fills up the empty wasteland. Some of the new things added by this mod though, I can barely tell. You probably would think that they're vanilla without checking the console, but this mod does add a lot. The next mod we're covering is called The Sewers. It's kind of like Subway Runner in its approach to add more depth to the Commonwealth, basically allowing you to go below the surface. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is a copy of Subway Runner, I'm just saying they both go below ground. Generally though, you can get to the sewers from any manhole provided the mod actually touches there, which for the most part it usually does. This place is filled with Easter eggs and plenty of fun things to discover, and mainly a lot of enemies, like a lot. And I actually really love this mod though, especially considering it's still being actively updated right now. The next two mods though is what I use to change up Diamond City, just a little bit though. The first one up is Diamond City Outskirts, edit by Forest Skimp. This version is a complete standalone and remaster of the original Diamond City Outskirts, removing pretty much any buggy content and fixing your FPS. The original version of this mod though destroyed my FPS, but this one is just perfect, and it keeps all the best contents while removing the useless junk. Like, it still keeps the junkyard and even the new places added to the exterior Diamond City that you can go into, which is the best parts. This is an absolute must have for people looking for something new, but still wanting to be able to play their game. And finally, we have Diamond City Supplements. This mod is a sort of nod to Diamond City in the interior and exterior that you can view. Well, really, you'll have to probably use free cam if you want to do it in the exterior, but that doesn't really matter here. It makes it look bigger than it actually is. You can't go and visit the newly added areas though, because it's simply live, but it does make Diamond City look that much better. So yes, this is an absolute must have, and you should go and grab this mod. And that was it for environmental mods. Now we got a bunch more to go. If you made it this far, comment cheese. But we're gonna move on. Now we just got 2-player home mods that I always use and just so happen to probably be the most useful in any playthrough, especially on survival. The first one up is Aloot's home plate. I use this because most people don't even know about the home that you can get in Diamond City called home plate. But when you visit it, the place is pretty empty and you have to pretty much do everything yourself with the workbench, at least to make it look like anything like a home. But this mod fixes that, adding everything you could possibly need for a survival playthrough. So it actually makes the home worth buying. Otherwise, that's probably why everyone skips it. The next one that I always use no matter what is called Rockin Red Rocket. This mod just got a massive update recently actually, but this mod overhauls the Red Rocket right outside the Sanctuary, which if we take a side step, I actually overhaul with the mod called Nom Sanctuary. But that's my personal preference, you don't have to use that, just thought I'd mention it because it looks great. But this mod changes up Red Rocket, turning it into an interior cell rather than just a walk around. And this interior cell literally has everything in it, like all workbenches, a cooking station, and a bed and a bathroom for you to use. This is a perfect starter home, and the best part is that because it edits an already used cell, there really shouldn't be any incompatibility issues, unless you know of some. The only incompatibility with this mod that I know of is the L-string Fallout bow, which actually just got updated. Well, another mod version of it that is more updated, because the arrows usually spawn inside of Red Rocket, but because of this change you get around, the arrows will be inside the building, which you can't get to. And now we're getting into some of the most requested stuff on my channel, the HUD stuff. You guys literally ask me every video, so here we are. The first one up and the most important one is HUD 76. This mod replaces nearly every aspect of Fallout 4's HUD with one that looks just like Fallout 76, and I absolutely love this for it, especially the barter menu and trade menu, which I also have to give a disclaimer about because the way that it works is that the mouse doesn't work on that screen. You have to actually use your keyboard. Not entirely sure why, but it is worth it. This mod also requires Def UI HUD, so it works with Fall UI, but you won't really be able to edit it with Fall UI. You have to use Def UI and let it overwrite Fall UI, if that makes sense. And then you just let this mod overwrite everything. There is a Fall UI version of this, but it doesn't include all the same things as this mod. Like the HUD cap display you guys see when I kill an enemy or lose something, that is also included in this mod. You can get the separate version, but I hear that one has issues after playing for a while. But when it's in this mod, I never really experienced any of those issues. And the reason it pops up every time I kill something is because I have a mod called Bountiful Hunter. It gives cap every kill if I set it up to, or it's just an auto loot at base. The next one that I use though is called F76 Styled UI skin. This is an add-on for HUD 76 that fixes the barter and trade menu by replacing the barter menu, but it actually replaces also the dialogue menu for extended dialogue boxes with the Fallout 76 version. The trade menu when you're looting enemies will still look the same because it doesn't touch it, and that's perfect, but you can also replace that with the replacement add-on that it has in the optional files. Otherwise, you'll still have the Fallout 76 HUD version, which is fine by me. That's the one that you just have to use your keyboard for. And what I combine with these two mods is Overseer font. It's basically the same font I use in my videos, it just brings a Fallout feel to the mod. It's definitely not 100% needed if you don't want it, but I always end up using it because Fallout 76 HUD does come with its own font, but it's more like a more modern font rather than a Fallout font. So I just switch it. And one more mod that I add on to Fallout 76 HUD, this is Companion Status Hud. Before I would advise to use the remastered version, but the base version plus Fallout 76 HUD works perfectly. And I actually advise it it goes perfectly with the HUD, and it's what you see Dog me using because Fallout 76 HUD comes with the patch for it. The next two are just simple must-have mods for me. The first one is Crafting Highlight Fix. This one is just a minor inconvenience fix, so now instead of what you're trying to craft or highlight being green, or whatever color you currently have it as, it moves it to either an outline or just turning it off completely. So you can see why this fix is a minor inconvenience. The next one being Unused Map Markers, Cut Content Restored. This mod adds many more map markers to the Commonwealth, but based on the title, these were always there, just cut from the game for whatever reason. I guess to free up space. But now this mod adds it back, so now you can fast travel to these spots whenever you want. It's a pretty simple mod, but I always have it. And then there's Hud Plus Plus, which basically lets you see the info of items before you loot them, but as you can see, mine is a little misaligned. I never tried to fix it, which should be fairly easy since I rarely play, unless I'm doing mod showcases, but this mod is also hugely asked about, so here it is. This next mod is absolutely must have and important because it will be important for the later mods, but this mod is called Comprehensive Third Person Camera Tweaks. It lets you change where your camera is during combat, how far it zooms in when you aim, and when you're out of combat just for cinematic reasons. You need a mod like this if you plan on using new animations, otherwise it becomes a little wonky. And I'm not really sure it matters, but I figured I'd showcase some low screen mods I use, which is Automated Low Screen Replacer. This on its own does nothing, it's just a system to replace low screens for other mods, which I combine with Random Concept Art Loading Screen. This mod is the one that randomizes the low screen with concept art. Some are drawn and some are from the Fallout 4 trailer, but they're changed to make it look like a painting. This isn't really needed, but I figured I'd include it. And that was pretty much it for HUD. Well, there's plenty more small mods that you absolutely should grab, like Fallout UI HUD add-ons, because even with Fallout HUD 76 overriding Fall UI, some of Fall UI mods look better in some instances, like the Workbench, the Wait menu, or other areas. They work as long as Fall UI is installed, so even with it being overridden, I highly advise to grab them, just to make your game look better and like my HUD. With that camera mod being the last mod, I figure animation mods might be next, or at least should be. So to start us off, we're going to start with movement animations. First being first person running with hands animation, which allows for you to view your character hands when in first person, only unarmed though, not with weapons. You can also view your hands while in power armors also, if that interests you. And to pair with this, we have first person swimming animations tweak. It's a revamp of the other one, just allowing for you to view your hands while swimming in first person, just like the other mod. So you can kind of see why I included these two together. Next up we have faster workbench exit. That was kind of hard for me to say together, you should try that. This mod allows for you to leave workbenches faster, and pretty much there's really no way for me to explain this any better than that. You just don't have to wait for the animation to finish to leave the workbench. Next for animation, movement wise, I grabbed an all-in-one, which is much better third person animation tactics. This mod would completely destroy your camera movement if not for the camera mod I just recommended or just any other one that you want. But this replaces nearly every single animation in Fallout 4 for both female and male characters. And people generally ask me about this one, that's my walk animation. This is just a base though, I do overwrite with a few small ones, which I'm also going to introduce. Like for females, I use the mod MCG Walk. It's a little provocative, but at the same time, it makes for a great cinematic walk, especially when playing female characters. For male movement, I just use Cautious Third Person Animations Redux. This mod comes with multiple files for you to pick from, so it might look a little scary at first. But I just use the male movements 1.1 and the original pistols animation, because it makes me look cool while walking, especially with the pistol out. I'm still looking for a new sprint though for my character, but for now, I'm okay with this. For my idols, I use a mod called New Weapon Idols by the same mod author from Cautious Movement. These can range from very feminine to unisex, nothing very masculine. So unless you want a feminine pose, I advise to usually look for the letter C option in animations. That usually ends up being unisex for the most part. Unless you prefer the feminine poses, then I say go with option A. I don't know if this counts as a movement animation, but I have nowhere else to put it. So next up we have Animated Chems Redone. If you don't get any other animation mod from this section, make sure to grab this one. This reanimates most, if not all, chems at this point in first and third person. So you will see these new animations when in or out of combat. This is an essential mod no matter what mod list you have, at least to me it is. And now we have weapon animations. These unfortunately all come separate. There is no all-in-one weapon animations overhaul, unfortunately, but I'll still show the ones that I use. First is lowered weapons. This mod makes your character automatically after a few seconds lower your weapon when not in combat. This is for those people tired of pointing their gun at Dogmeat's head, because he also has feelings unfortunately. The next one is 10mm Pistol Reanimation Pack. I have the version that brings new sounds. I don't know why, because I override it with the sound mod, but I'll introduce that later. But this mod replaces every animation for the 10mm from moving to reloading. And why I use this one is because it also works in third person. And after that is right-handed submachine gun, which is a SMG animations replacer, also by the same author. But the main reason I use these three mods is because they all work in third person, and that's mainly what people playing in Fallout 4. Or maybe just me, I don't want to generalize here. And of course I have animations for literally every single gun separate, because that's how it is on Fallout 4, so I'm going to speed through them. For double barrel shotguns, I use the mod double barrel rifles revisited. For snipers in my game or just lever action rifles, I use hunting rifle animations replacer. For laser guns, I use laser reanimation pack. This mod works for both pistols and rifle variants. For assault rifles, I use assault rifles reanimated. For shotguns, I use double barrel shotgun reload animations. This doesn't replace the shooting animations, just the reload, like the name suggests, so that's pretty much perfect for me. And for the combat version of shotguns, I use Reanimation Pack for combat shotguns and rifle, but it's mainly for the combat shotgun side of it, and it looks great. And finally, for plasma guns, I use Vanilla Reanimation Project Plasma Guns. It does add fake recoil to the gun, and although that might not make sense to people, I ended up liking it. Next we got sound overhauls that I mentioned before that I will be mentioning soon, and here they are. And because these are sound mods, I'm going to do befores and afters without me talking so you can clearly hear it. The first mod up is Reverb and Ambience Overhaul, Tweaked. Make sure you grab the tweaked version because it is updated and much more compatible with other mods. This mod makes your environment that much better, especially if you're using headphones, because then you'll start to hear sounds all around you and they'll be a little louder. The next mod up is JSRS Sound Mod for Fallout 4. This is the mod you guys always end up asking me about in my video, because this mod overhauls all gun sounds in the game, making them more realistic and modern, rather than whatever Bethesda was aiming for. Here are some befores and afters so you can decide if you want this or not. And there is mist sound mods that I use that change things up, like bullet impact overhaul, just actually giving guns different sounds when you hit areas. And it also goes for melee impact overhaul. I use these two together because they're kind of meant to be used together, and because they're by the same mod author, so that means I can trust it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for sound. I don't really use many mods, but what I do use is pretty game changing, so you guys should probably try these out. Now we got clothing and armor mods that you guys always ask me for. Well, it's mainly clothing, but I guess I just pretty much use two mods, which is an all-in-one called Ellie's Armor Compendium, which is a massive clothing mod adding dozens of outfits into Fallout 4. The texture size can vary. I use 4K I believe, but it's based on what you decide to go with. You can use 2K for FPS reasons. But the main reason I use this is for the NPC add-on so that the outfits can be randomized and put into the Commonwealth. And that's, like I said, the main reason I use this, so NPCs can have new clothing, but it still feels like Fallout 4 rather than modernizing everyone. Some people do have a bit of issues with this because it adds a shop right behind Diamond City, but I myself don't really notice anything. Besides maybe FPS issues when combining with Diamond City Outskirts, but the two alone don't really hurt at all. And for the Vault Suit, I use Proto Vault Suit. This mod overhauls the Vault Suit, making it look a little bit cooler. I can't really describe it better than that. This is the basic blue version, but there is multiple color variations, like a lot, that you can pick from if you really want to look different from Fallout 4. But you can't go wrong with the basic Vault Blue in my opinion. And I'm only really putting this here because you guys always ask me about this, but I mean, you're probably still gonna ask me either way. Other than that, yeah, these last two sections have been pretty quick because sound and armor mods aren't really a must-have. They are personal preference, but I'm including the most asked about mods, so here we are. Same with weapon mods. These are 100% personal choice, but there is a few weapon mods that you are probably going to need, so let's dive right in. With the first one being the attachment pack. I've probably showcased this one a dozen times, but it's most likely an absolute must-have for anyone returning to Fallout 4, because this mod adds dozens of new attachments for you to pick from to make dozens of new combinations for your gun, so you won't always end up with the same gun archetype. Because we all know we do the same things in every playthrough, but now you can mix and match and just go guns blazing, because some of the attachments are purely cosmetic. They won't be better than the previous one, but some are kinda overpowered. And these attachments even work on my added guns, provided they are compatible. Some of them might crash. Just a quick disclaimer about that, but for the most part, this mod has been a game changer for me. And the next mod up to pair with this one is see-through scopes. There's two versions of this, the add-on version and the replacer version. I myself personally use the replacer version because it makes it simple for me to tell the difference between the two, but there's no benefit either way. This mod lets you look directly through your scope like modern games, rather than scopes being more of a fade to black than scope, so a transition. It's a simple mod that might not seem too effective when you just look at it based on images or what I'm looking at, but I promise you, as soon as you use this mod, you more than likely won't be going back to vanilla. And that's why I consider this a must-have. And if you want to customize your guns even further, you can use the mod Tactical Reload, giving new animations based on if you reload with bullets still left in a magazine or if the magazine was empty. This might have issues with the weapon animation mods I mentioned earlier for weapons, but this mod also works for custom added weapons. And that's the main reason I use it, because I don't just use vanilla weapons. Nobody does at this point in 2024. And I like to feel a little different from NPCs. And just as a quick subsection, I'm also going to talk about the power armor mods that I use, and mainly it's just added power armors, not really any gameplay changes for them because that can cause issues. For me, I use two power armor mods, one being the T65 power armor. I use this one purely for the look of it because it reminds me of something you'd see in Warhammer, just a lot weaker and smaller, but also because it's from Fallout 76, so it looks great. But the real main reason I use this is because I can get it early game. You can find this power armor just outside of the castle underwater with the full fusion core for you to have fun with, so it's no reason for me not to use this mod. And the next one I use is Hellcat Power Armor. This one is not so easy to get. You can find it at the Gunner Plaza, which I intentionally beef up with the immersive Gunner Plaza. So there's about 3 times as many enemies if you want to get to this power armor. But this power armor, as you can see, is being worn and standing at the front line of the Gunner Plaza. And it's a pretty cool looking armor, made by the same mod author as the T65. And I pretty much had zero issues with using either. But if I had to pick between the two, the T65 is definitely my favorite, just because it's easier to get and I like blue more. And now for the final section of this video. This is the longest video I've ever done besides gameplay videos, but I'll keep the gameplay mods short because these are dangerous and can cause bugs in your game that cause crashing if you aren't careful. But let's dive in. With the first mod being Start Me Up Redux. For some reason, the Start Me Up first version is more popular than the Redux when it hasn't been updated in nearly 6 years. Please stop using that, you're going to crash. Use the Redux, it's 100% more compatible and actually still being worked on. But this mod allows for you to roleplay as whoever you want or whatever you want in your 200th playthrough of Fallout 4, or you can simply use it just to skip the intro of Fallout 4, which is pretty boring now that I've done it so many times. And just use that to dive straight into your game. Because to simply explain it, you pick your stats at the start before you even leave the bathroom, and you pick where you want to start. And with this mod, you can pretty much avoid the main quest entirely, but if you do want to start it, you can just go to any of the main locations, like mainly talking to Codsworth, who will begin it all for you, but his dialogue might be a little different than what you're used to. Okay, look, don't hate me for this, but I'm not going to go over Dankraft mods again. I've done them to death. Just go and download his legendary effect overhaul, new equipment overhaul, and Eco Redux mod. They are an absolute must-have for any mod list because they give you complete control over how your armor works in your game, your looted items, and also the legendary. It gives you full control over all of it if you get all 3 mods. And most mods nowadays rely on one of the 3, so you might as well try one. Honestly, that was it for what I would consider must have even for gameplay standards. Most mods in gameplay are personal choice on what you want. Well, to be honest, pretty much every mod is personal choice, but these are the safest options in my opinion. And honestly, there is a heck of a lot more mods that could have been here, but I include them in other videos most likely, so I decided to stick to the important stuff and most of the mods that Xbox users could also use. So let me know what you thought down below in the comments, but as of right now, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and make sure you like the video if you happen to enjoy even 2 minutes of it. But peace and love, guys.